Hello everyone and welcome to part 16 of my Milwaukee Bucks MyGM on the Xbox One here on Clyde92 TV. And after taking a pretty tough beating in the NBA Finals, the Bucks enter the offseason hoping to get that one player that will put them over the top, because in the end I feel that the reason why we lost to the Rockets was because they just had more stars on their team than we did. But before we get our star, we got to work on the coaching staff of this team. The coaching staff is not very strong. We still have one of the worst head coaches in the league, which is something I plan on fixing next offseason. One thing I did fix though was the assistant head coach. I picked up Kevin Garnett to be our assistant head coach. I think he'll be a very good fit for this team. I feel like he can be the guy that connects with all of our veteran players. I also went out and picked up a bad scout and a bad assistant GM. That way we have more money to spend on the head coach and assistant coach. I'm looking at all of the player and team options. We have a player option on Carlos Delfino, but he has made it very clear that he does not want to play for this team. So I'm going to re-sign everybody that was there. I think it was Giannis, Adrian Payne, and Goran Dragic are all coming back to the Bucks. Now I'm looking at all the players that declined their player options or team options, and some of the big names are LaMarcus Aldridge, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kevin Love. So I'm looking at those guys when we head into free agency. The Bucks have 5 players going into free agency, but we are only going to try to re-sign one of them, and that is Paul Gasol. He did step up pretty big in the playoffs. He wants 1 year for $4.77 million. He wants to be a starter, but I do feel like we can get a better power forward on this team, so I think I give him a little bit less money, but at the same time I give him a role player, so it was a little bit of a risky move. Heading into the draft, we have the 21st pick and the 28th pick in the first round. We don't have that good draft picks, especially when you consider that last year we had the first pick of the whole thing. I'm going to show you guys the very first 3 picks of the entire draft. I don't really know these players too well. The only player I really knew was occurr, who was the first pick of the draft. One thing I actually considered doing was trading for a top 3 pick in the draft. That way we could draft occurr, put him alongside Jabari Parker, and that would be a really good fit since they both went to Duke. But then I thought it through and it seemed a little bit unrealistic. So there are your first 3 picks of the draft. I didn't really know any of them too well. And then I get this trade offer from the Indiana Pacers. They're going to offer us Aaron Gordon, who I really like in real life, for our first round pick next year and our 2 first round picks this year. And I think that's a really good trade for us, especially when you consider that we're trying to make our team even better than it was last year. So we got the second to last pick this year. We're hoping we can get a deep run in the playoffs. So our first round pick next year isn't really going to be worth that much. So we end up not getting any rookies in that draft. You can see Paul Gasol actually accepted our offer. I did not think he was going to accept it because we gave him less money and a lesser role. So I go out into free agency, and all of the big name free agents that I wanted, LaMarcus Aldridge and Kevin Love right here, wanted too much money. I could not afford to pay them, mainly because of the contracts of Larry Sanders and JaVale McGee, surprisingly. I tried doing Al Jefferson. He is a guy I really wanted, and after his performance in the finals, I really wanted to get Jeremy Lin. He could be a very good backup or replacement for Goran Dragic, and I even tried to get Kobe, but none of these players wanted to sign with me. The one guy I was able to get in free agency was Ben Gordon. He is a 3-point specialist, and you guys know I really like players that can shoot the 3 ball. An example obviously being Brandon Knight, so I end up signing him to a 1-year deal, I think for about $2.8 million. He ends up accepting that, so he will be a role player. And another player that I want to get is Vince Carter. Throughout last season, Vince Carter made it very clear that he did not want to re-sign with the Bucks, but no one in free agency tried picking him up. He was a free agent after the free agency period ended, so he actually ends up coming back to the Bucks, basically because he has no other options. Now I'm sending all of my players to training camps. I sent, I think, 3 players to perimeter shooting. I sent Jabari Parker, Goran Dragic, and Brandon Knight, because you guys know I want my core 3 players to be able to shoot outside. Before heading into the next season, my owner had a couple goals for me. The first goal he had was that he wanted a high teammate chemistry, and I told him that I was going to accomplish that. The second one he had, I think, was that we should sell out 32 home games. I told him I would do that as well. The one goal that I told him I may not accomplish was that we would improve on our record since last season. Before the start of the regular season, I decided to make some trades, and I'm going to trade away JaVale McGee. He has been with us since I think the first episode, but his contract is just way too much. It's $12 million, and for a guy coming off the bench, it's not really worth that. So I end up trading him straight up for Zach Randolph. I feel like that's a very good trade. They both have 1 year left, I think, on their contracts, and I do think Zach Randolph is a better player that we can get for a cheaper price. The next trade I make is Aaron Gordon for Omar Ashik, and main reason why I made that trade is because we're pretty much set on the power forward position. We already have Paul Gasol and Zach Randolph, so we really don't need Aaron Gordon, and this is the big trade we made. I told you guys that I was going to get a star on this team, and that's what I did. I traded away Goran Dragic and a draft pick for Darren Williams. He will be the star on this team. He's going to be the starting point guard, so we now have Darren Williams, Brandon Knight, Jabari Parker, Zach Randolph, and Larry Sanders starting. That's a very solid starting five. Definitely better than the starting five that we had last year, and last year's starting five made it all the way to the NBA Finals. After making that trade, I was asked by the press what they thought of Darren Williams, and I said he is the leader of this team. And one thing that's really weird about that is that even though he is the star in this team and that's his role, he's actually not the highest rated player. Jabari Parker is already a 90 overall in just his second year in the league, and the reason why he is a 90 is because I sent him to unlimited potential in the first offseason, so that really helped him out. And much like I did last offseason episode, I'm just going to run through the lineup, that way you guys are not confused with who's still on the team and who's not. So the starting five for the Bucks this year will be Darren Williams at point guard, Brandon Knight at shooting guard, Jabari Parker at small forward, Zach Randolph at power forward, and Larry Sanders at center. I'm so psyched about that starting five. We have 7 players coming off the bench. The backup point guard is Norris Cole. The backup shooting guards are Vince Carter and Ben Gordon. The backup small forward is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak. He probably could be a starter if I sent him to unlimited potential. The backup power forwards are Paul Gasol and Adrian Payne, and the backup center is Omar Ashik. I am extremely happy with what the Bucks were able to pull off during this offseason. I think we got the star that we were looking for, and we did improve our backups as well. I can honestly say that I think this year we have all the key assets that we need to win a championship, because last year I don't think our team was nearly as good and we still made it to the NBA Finals. So I hope you guys had a fun time watching this video. Next episode I'll probably be playing up against the Dallas Mavericks because they made some big moves in free agency. I'll probably show you where a lot of the big free agents went next episode. Be sure to have a great day. God bless you guys.